Hi there, everyone. This is Jackie with Jagco Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me today in this Yoga Basics series. Today, we're going to be talking about some often cued, some very familiar postures that I'm sure you've heard of and I'm sure you've experienced, but hopefully offer a little bit of understanding. Right on cue, I do want to point out my furry assistant yoga teacher here, as he will likely be in and out throughout the session today. And I just like to acknowledge that. First and foremost, with every one of my classes, with every one of my sessions, I do like to start off with a little bit of grounding, a little bit of intention setting, and some motivation for this next little series. So go ahead, find a comfortable seated position wherever you are, whatever that might be, and allow yourself to find a point of unmoving energy, a point of focus. Maybe it's a speck on the ground in front of you, and allow for your gaze to go a little bit fuzzy. Allow for your peripheral vision to fade. And if you're comfortable, maybe even taking your eyes closed. With each inhale, let your crown reach nice and tall towards the sky. And with each exhale, let your shoulders melt down your spine, entering into this ease. Allow these next 3 breaths to allow you to find an intention for today. Shifting the motivation from I want something in your life that is desirable to you to I intend. Giving yourself 2 more big breaths here into that space of intention. Every inhale, crown lifts a millimeter higher towards the sky. Every exhale, let yourself soften into this space. Last big breath here. Exhale to seal that in for our next basics session. Go ahead, flutter your eyes open if they're not there already, and sweep your legs around or curl your knees under, meeting me in a tabletop position. Opening up here, we're going to go ahead and just find some organic movements. Maybe that's wagging our tail side to side. Maybe it's finding some cat-cows, whatever sensation your body is craving right here, right now. Go ahead, find that space, find what it is that you need. And then on an inhale breath, we're going to be entering into a connecting vinyasa. I will link a video down below to what that means, but whatever connecting vinyasa you need today, go ahead, walk your palms forward, curl your toes under, and enter into that variation, whatever it is you need, finding that space, meeting me in a downward facing dog. Once you get there, allow yourself to begin to wiggle wobble through those feet, wag your tail side to side, shake your head yes, shake your head no, as we arrive here. Give yourself a big breath into that space of your intention as your hips lift a little bit higher. Allow your exhales to let your heart melt a little bit closer. The basics we're going to be going over today are going to be our warrior twos and our crescent lunges. This sets us up for many of our yoga flows, many of our opportunities. And so we're going to find what the point of each of them is, how to set them up for success, and to find alignment in each of those. So we're going to be starting off with our warrior twos. What this means is our hips are going to be open. We're going to find strength and focus here and allow ourselves to enter into whatever variation that your teacher is cueing or whatever variation you need. On our inhale breath, we're going to let our right leg lift high to the sky. We're going to reach it really, really tall, toes reaching towards the sky, fingertips pressing in. 1 line of energy on our entire right side. And then as we exhale, we're going to take our time. We're engaging our core, pulling our knees in towards our chest first, or stomach first, then chest. Now we're looking at that space right in between our thumbs. So we're going towards the middle here, and we're gently stepping it through. Now, as I mentioned, hips are open. So we're gonna let our back heel drop towards the mat, already feeling in our pinky knife edge of our toe. You can feel your hips opening up, and then on an inhale breath, we cartwheel our hands up and open, and then exhale, settle into our warrior two. Now, traditionally, fingers are reaching out in opposite directions, and gaze is over our front middle finger. Again, letting our peripheral vision go a little bit fuzzy here, but setting up from the ground up. So what we're doing here, our left knife toe edge of our foot is anchored in. Our right toes are pressing into the mat equally, heel, toe, knife edge, all four corners pressing down into that mat equally. Now we're going to check in with our knees here. We're going to try and get our quad to perpendicular, right angle in our knee. Now, we're not going to let our knee anchor in. We're not pulling in towards midline here, nor are we splaying open. Our hips are in alignment. Knees should be directly over our big toes. You should be able to see your toes in right over your knee. That might mean that you're a little hyperextended. You might need to come out slightly if you can't see those toes. Now, growing from the ground up, every inhale, your knife edge and your toes are going to press away from each other. We're really reaching out in space. And then as you exhale, we're going to settle into that lunge and pull our inner thighs in towards each other. So this is happening with every breath. We're expanding and we're pulling in. Even if you don't physically see it, you feel it. This is a big, strong pose. Now, as you inhale, as our toes are pressing out, our crown is reaching high. As you exhale, we're softening our shoulders as we pull those inner thighs in towards each other. Last little step. Inhale, reach out with those fingertips. Exhale, find that engagement. One breath here. Use that exhale to set it in. Now, a traditional transition, something we often do. Flip that front palm, inhale, breath, reverse warrior, or you can straighten through that front leg, reverse triangle. And then as you exhale, we're going to cartwheel it towards the top of our mat, working through our connecting vinyasa. Pop that back heel up, step it back into our plank pose. You can drop towards knees or stay in plank. Again, connecting vinyasas are always your choice for meeting in down dog. Take your time to get there. Tops of your toes, press down into the mat. Wherever you are, feel those anchoring sensations, connecting breath with body, and meeting in a down dog. Once you get there, find a couple reset breaths here, working into our second side. I'm transitioning sides. So find that intention, find that space. Inhale into something that needs ease. Exhale into softness. Working on left-hand side. As you inhale, let that left leg reach high to the sky. Feel that one line of energy on the left-hand side. Toes reaching tall, fingertips pressing down. Big deep breath here. And then as you exhale, knee comes to belly. Then to chest. We're again looking at that space right in between our thumbs, right into the middle. Gently step it through. Back heel anchors down, opening up those hips. And then on an inhale breath, cartwheel it up and open. Exhale, lands into warrior two on this side. So again, hips are open in one line. We're allowing our knee to not float open. We're not dragging our knee in. Arms are extended. We're finding the stance that we need. Another thing too to be careful of before we start building on the side is you don't want a too short of a stance to really allow you to anchor over your front leg. We're right stacked in alignment. We also don't want too wide of a stance where you can't get into that front lunge. So allow yourself to find that stance. Typically it's right where you land. So no need to worry about that. Check in with that knee. Make sure you can see your toes entering in to that nice perpendicular as close as you can get to it. It's a practice, not a perfect. And now, growing from the ground up. Really, as you inhale, anchor in that back knife edge. Press those toes forward, reaching away in space. As you exhale, pull those inner thighs in towards each other, pressing and pulling with every breath. Now inhale, grow a little bit taller towards the sky. Exhale, settle into that lunge. Last one here. Inhale, reach out in space. Gaze goes over those left middle fingers. Exhale, soften into that variation. Setting up for transition, flip that front palm, reverse warrior or reverse triangle. Big inhale breath. And then exhale, cartwheel it towards the top of your mat. Pop that back heel up, entering into your connecting vinyasa, finding the variation you need, traveling with your breath to body. Connecting vinyasa just means entering into down dog. You can travel through cat-cow, tabletop, finding your cobra pose, maybe up dog, and then let those hips lift high and back. Meeting me in down dog. If you are not there yet, find a nice big reset breath. You go ahead and stay squared on your mat. I'm going to adjust my variation just a little bit so you can see me now. Traveling into our second variation of class today, traveling into hips closed. So as I mentioned, warrior two, hips are open. We're setting up for all of those nice hip opening movements. Now our power movement will be our crescent lunges. So finding that this variation, our hips are going to be squared. So often you'll hear it cued a little bit different or setting up a little bit different. On your inhale breath, let that right leg lift high to the sky. Same setup, reach it tall as your right fingertips anchor down into the earth. This time, knees still going to come to belly first, engaging our core. Still coming to chest, but now we're looking at our right thumb. We're going to step it through towards our right thumb rather than towards the middle to allow ourselves to really pull that right hip back in space and allow that left hip to knock down and forward. So we're finding this one line of energy. Crown is reaching forward. We're pressing into our back toes, but we're staying elevated on that heel. We're not dropping down to the earth unless we're entering into warrior one, which you will hear cued. But otherwise, we're staying nice and engaged. Back, left toes are pressing in, right hip is pulling back in space, left hip is nice and heavy. Headlights are shooting straight down towards the earth. And then on our inhale breath, we're going to sweep it tall. So we're allowing ourselves to find this setup as we are pulling those right hips back in space. Left hip is anchoring down. Fingertips are reaching high to the sky. You can't see them, but they're extending. Finding this nice setup here. Now, similar variation with our front leg. We're finding that nice perpendicular option, but we are looking for our toes over our front knee. We're not hyperextending here. We're staying nice and stacked. Knees over ankles, reaching those fingertips high. An option always is to come down to back knee as you begin to set up this variation. You can also keep knee really bent to feel that alignment or straightening through that back leg. Big inhale breath here, pull those right hips back, left hip forward, sit it low as you exhale. And now hands come down to frame your front foot. Go ahead, step it back into our plank pose, entering into your connecting vinyasa. Whichever variation is calling to you right now. It might be entering right into down dog. Once you find it, go ahead and lift those hips high and back. Downward facing dog. We've got to balance this out. We've got to set up for left side as well. Inhale breath. Let that left leg reach high to the sky. As you exhale, knees come to belly. Then to chest, this time looking at our left thumb, stepping it through. From this space, already begin to set up. Press into those right toes, really anchoring them back in space, finding that engagement, staying engaged through that right leg. Now pull that left hip back, right hips will knock forward. You can see that physically happen here. We're finding that nice alignment with knees directly over ankles, pressing into those toes. And then as we inhale, we reach those fingertips tall. Setting up here, pulling those left hips into space, right hips knock forward. keeping our heart over our hips, head over our heart. So one line of energy, pressing in with those right toes, sitting it low in those left knees, pulling left hip in space, right hip nest forward. Again, variation, you can drop down to knee as you begin to work out this orientation, pulling left hip in space, hips are on straight. You can find a nice deep bend in that knee, or as you work through, you can straighten through that back leg, staying low in that front knee. Big inhale breath here, reach up towards the sky, sit it a little bit lower as you exhale. Hands come down to frame that front foot. Inhale, step it back into our plank pose. You are connecting vinyasa, skipping it all together, go straight towards down dog, finding cat-cow, finding cobra or up dog. Wherever you are, meeting me in our down dog. Final couple breaths of this yoga basic session. Use your exhales to seal in that intention. Inhales to find the ease. Then moving really sweetly and gently, go ahead, make your way back in to a comfortable seated position towards the top of your mat. Once you're there, go ahead, let your hands come to either heart center, pressing palms towards chest or palms in towards each other. Let your chin bow towards chest first and foremost, giving yourself appreciation for this little mini flow, this mini reset, and most importantly, working on your practice. Working into these yoga basics are so important, so crucial for our yoga practice. So give yourself that acknowledgement. One final bow into the intention you had for today, and give yourself this ease. Please know, the inner teacher and light within me so appreciates and so recognizes the inner teacher and light within each of you. And one way to say this is to bow our heads and say, Namaste. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this practice today, in this learning experience. Again, my name is Jackie with Jagco Yoga. If you appreciated today's class, please go ahead and consider giving me a like. If you would like to learn anything else or have suggestions, drop them down in the comments below. And also, please feel free to subscribe. I encourage subscribing to find out more yoga basics, to check out the 30 to 45 minute little midday resets or any time of day resets, and also full 60-minute long classes right here on this channel. And as always, the inner teacher and light within me appreciates and recognizes the inner teacher and light within each of you. Namaste.